Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Seth, and you're listening to the Apocalyptic Opsimath channel. Apocalyptic Opsimath is my magic system that I've created, invented, and we mostly talk about apocalyptic Opsimath um, theories and thesis, and also practice for ones that want to practice being an Opsimath. I keep saying those two words, but you can say the two words anyway. So, Opsimath. Um, so I made a video yesterday talking about reality being a loop, an infinite loop, right? And I'm pretty sure a couple of people have noticed people talking about loops, looping. It's coming back around, pun intended. Referring to the universe as the Luciferians would depict it as, or the Hermetics or alchemists, better known as, would refer to reality being an Ouroboros. And I was just listening to someone talking about quantum physics, and he was saying that in his theory, he believes that reality actually collapses. One reality collapses onto the other. Um, I'm not going to get into the details because that could be a little bit too difficult, but I will say that I feel like okay, I'm still a Luciferian, I'm still a demonologist, but I have to admit that maybe I might have overlooked a detail. And of course, this might give some fervor to the more religious types, not. And please refrain from your fervor because I do not care and I do not wish to care. If you have any religious fervor to give, go give it somewhere where the religious fervor, where you not gonna waste your energy. Because coming over here talking that ish is literally a waste of energy. So please don't do that. And but if you agree with some of the statements that you have heard, which I'm pretty sure you will, or not, um, just pump your brakes. And if you feel like expressing yourself, go express yourself with somebody that's interested in Christianity. I am not. Okay, so now that that disclaimer has passed, um, there is a notion. So I was listening. I actually listened to two different videos. One that was stating that the Big Bang is a mirror. Now I have to finish the video because I don't believe that that's the case. That's impossible to me. That's literally impossible. That cannot be a thing. That's literally impossible. It doesn't make any sense. It's not. It can't hold up. It doesn't hold up. I'm not saying the reality might be a mirror. We might mirror things. I believe I am a mirror. I do mirror things. I do not practice the actual physical practice of mirror. I believe that life itself is a mirror, and that's the mirror that I use. You know, and I believe that it's way more powerful than actually believing that a little mirror is doing all of the work. Because the universe is way bigger. Magic is way bigger than just a little mirror. But that's another story for another day. And but if you practice mirror magic, that's your business. It's legit. I just believe that that's kind of first grade magic. Like I've stated before, I've stated that many times. I feel like mirror magic is first grade magic. Is one of the first things you learn. Once you is the first thing that gets you into magic to understand magic. So anyway, whatever. But that's neither here or there. So this person was saying that the Big Bang is a mirror. Like I said, I didn't finish the video. I would have to check. I don't believe that. But while he was speaking, because I was watching another video before, it kind of, he mentioned some things, and it kind of reminded me of the collapse theory that this person was talking about. And so the idea, and we kind of, he he kind of like, it was an edit. I think the video was like 40 minutes, but it was like, I think it was like edited, so it was like multiple videos that was very well edited together. um but he talks about faith, kind of, not really, but there is a notion of faith in there, as of a paradox that he explains, where if a person shoots himself, he actually made the choice to shoot himself before he shot himself, and after he shot himself, he actually made the choice of dying. So that kind of refers to faith, not faith as like God and shit, but like uh, destiny, you know. So, and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, and for some reason I started wandering off ADHD style, and there's the notion of, because at the end of the day, what we're talking about is multiple universes, multiple realities, quantum mechanics, multiple realities, singularity effects. And I think, because in the other video where the person was stating that Big Bang was a mirror, he alludes to reality being isometric, right? Being like a flat surface, everything is flat, right? So the problem with that is, even though from the perspective of the observer that might be true, the earth might be flat, the universe might be flat, everything might be fucking flat. Like, we just live on a plane of existence, on a plane, and we're not endlessly floating in the vastness of nothing, right? In that case, I believe the thing is, at the end of the day, you can fight the idea that you are not in a snow globe as much as you want, but at the end of the day, if you have multiple realities, so let's say you're the ultimate observer, you're a 12 dimensional observer, I don't know, whatever, 8th dimensional, 12th dimensional, I don't know anything higher than 5. Okay, so I'm just saying that, just, imagine, if you will. So you're the 12th dimensional ultimate, observer, right? So you can see all the multiple realities in front of you. So at the end of the day, so how are you going to perceive all of these multiple realities? Are you going to look at these multiple realities in the shape of a square, where you're going to have like a checkered board, and every square on the checkered board is one reality, right? And is that really, I mean, I guess you could do that by choice, right? Like, if you have the capability of doing that, you could do that. But let's say that's not the case. Let's say there is a benign reality outside of reality, and this benign reality outside of reality is giving you, the observer, the capability of observing all of these multiple realities. So what are you looking at? Are you a person looking at a checkered board, or are you a person sitting on a chair looking at dust fly by your face, right? So So now I got to thinking, a speck of dust. And at the end of the day, if there's 8 billion people on the planet, all these 8 billion people on the planet are consistently and habitually making choices every fucking day. That means there is a finite amount of multiple universes, but that finite amount of multiple universes is still huge. It is massive. It almost looks infinite, right? So people say there's infinite possibilities, but no, there isn't infinite possibilities because there's a finite amount of people. So all of these people are going to make a finite amount of choices. Even though you make choices every day, and the number of those choices is probably not quantifiable by human means, it is still quantifiable and finite, right? So what are we looking at? So so in the Bible it says, you are dust and you shall return to dust, right? What does that mean? So there's two things going on here. There's the notion of looping, right? Where you're dust and you're going to return to dust, right? So, and then there is the part where you're dust. So the question now is, what are we talking about? The question is, what do we mean? And I believe, I don't believe that we are dust. I believe it's probably a way for a clever group of people to depict the faith of reality, the faith of living beings. So everything continuously always returns, because it sounds like an insult. It sounds grim. It sounds like a grim thing to say. You're dust and you shall return to dust. And mind you, this i.e. God was speaking to a human when he said that, not necessarily his enemy, right? Or was it Jesus that said that? I think it was Jesus that said that you're dust and you'll return to dust. Or it might be God. I don't know. I have to check. I didn't check. I remember the line, but I know he wasn't talking to like one of his enemies or something like that. So what do we mean? Because the reason why I came to this conclusion is because it's kind of hard to believe. It's not hard to believe, but it's sad to believe that all other religions, all other legit religions, have a notion of nuclear physics. And when you think about Western religion, European religion, it does not, nuclear physics does not occur. There's no spaceships. There's not real power. There's not, there's no gods. There's no pantheons. They're not like the creatures, the living beings inside of European religion have no power. They're destitute. And it's the European religion is the only religion that does that, because every other religion have many people of great power. So my mind went to, let's make this fair mode, and I just had an epiphany and I thought about a speck of dust. So basically, the reason why at the end of the day you might be right that the earth is flat, but reality is round. Reality has to be in a container in order to be perceived, right? Of course, if you open up a portal and they're like, I'm going to open up a portal and I'm going to get to another place, it doesn't look like you're entering a sphere of any sort. You're just walking from one reality to the other. But at the end of the day, if you go outside of reality and there's multiple realities and there's a vast amount of realities, those realities need to have a way to be observed. There needs to be a way to observe these realities, and these realities can only be observed and only contain their, because if it wouldn't make sense if all realities were just squares, pardon the pun for lack of better words here. Sorry to repeat myself because it didn't mean the same thing when I said it the first time. Well, there would be a bleeding effect where, since I'm next to the other alternate universe, I'm literally touching the other reality, then there would be a bleed effect within the two, right? Where the reality next to me would bleed into me. A little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. Barely noticeable, but it would happen. Now, if we look at multiple universes as there is a whatever amount of space between them, and if there is space between them, space is synonymous to gravity, in case you did not know. Space is synonymous to gravity. You need gravity to create space. Or else, if there's no gravity, if there's no attraction and pulling, right? These things, we would just look like ping pong balls. And we would just hit each other all the fucking time. So these realities need to be able to sustain themselves and also not disrupt or disturb the other reality, right? So there needs to be some kind of mechanism that holds these different universes in space, in place, not in space, but in place, right? So it needs to be contained. And I don't mean contain as a negative type of containment where, you know, you're locked in this cage and stuff like that, right? Like I believe if you have the power to visit another, I don't think we're strictly speaking science here, because you can visit an alternate universe, right? If you want to, you can travel in time if you want to. Like laws of attraction teach you, like Vincent Peale's book on the power of positivity talks about that, where you can visit time periods that you choose or travel to other countries without even leaving your home, which I honestly believe, because what you believe persists. What you perceive persists, right? The more you pay attention to something, the more that thing becomes aware of you, or whatever. Power of the observer again. So when I say containment, I mean a XYZ force, an XYZ gravitational force, right? XYZ dimensional gravity force that holds not only the reality together, but also it's not holding us. It's not stopping us from hitting one another. It's just holding us so that we don't collapse in nothingness, All right. And at the end of the day, the best form of containment is a sphere, not a square. Because it's a sphere is structurally sound. You can't break. It's very hard to break a sphere. You can punch a hole through a wall, but it's very hard to punch a hole through a sphere because there's so much density between the center point and the starting point of the outside exterior, right? Like if you have like a metal ball, try to punch a metal ball and see what happens to your hands, right? You're gonna break that shit. You know, like that shit is, I don't care how strong you are, bro, your hands are going to fucking break, bro. But a metal wall is not structurally sound. It's not holding itself as of a ball holds itself, right? A square, I mean, you could say a square is the same. A square has even more density than a ball. But the thing is, if you punch a hole inside of a square, you're going to see a hole. You're going to see a hole. There's more chances of you actually causing damage to a square than you're going to cause damage to a sphere because of the shape and the structural integrity. Centrifuge force, blah, 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 right? So, and that's not the only reason why a sphere is a better container than a square. You know, but it's more practical, right? It's a better use of energy. And energy is practical. Energy knows how to manage itself. Like the universe, the energy that powers the universe knows how to manage itself. Like you can see it when we're talking about you can see that in nature when we talk about Fibonacci golden ratio and stuff like that, right? 3.14 is the ratio of everything and blah blah blah. 3.44 or some shit like that is the ratio of everything in the universe, whatever. So it's normal to believe that outside of reality, maybe not inside, I think that the earth might be round. I don't know. I haven't gone to space. I don't know yet. But when I do go to space, I'll tell you. I believe that I believe that the earth is round, but I wouldn't be surprised. I believe that the earth is round, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. like I would really not be surprised if it wasn't. So anyways, because I like the idea of light refraction theories. Like light refraction is insane. It doesn't make any sense, right? It's bonkers. And light bends light, right? Like you can bend light, you know, like you can do it right now. If you put like a pencil inside of a cup of water, you know, you're gonna see the reflection change position. It's not like you put a pen in water and the reflections just goes exactly where the pen goes. No, it actually changes the reflection of the pen, the direction of the pen. So light refraction is very interesting, and there's a lot of weird shit going on with refraction theory, right? hypotheses, not a theory. It's a hypothesis because it's real. It's not a theory. So, and I believe that's the same shit that's going on with the universe and Earth. I believe that we are in a giant pool of water, kind of. In a giant pool of water, kind of, and it's like refracting light, right? So I do understand the whole mirror thing. I just don't believe that the mirror itself is a Big Bang, because it can't be a Big Bang because it's a mirror. It's a thing. So that thing needs to come from somewhere. So it can't be the origin. A mirror cannot be the origin of existence, hence, because the mirror is existence. And since we're talking about existence, well, it wouldn't make sense. I mean, in my theory, it would make sense that it wouldn't make sense that existence created existence, but it doesn't hold up though. Like, because at the end of the day, you still have to. It can't be a mirror, because that's not what a mirror is. Like, a mirror is not a transient fluid object. It's an inanimate object. It doesn't move, and it has to be built. So before reality became a mirror, there had to be something that created the mirror in the first place. So I think that theory is not precise. But like I said, I didn't watch the whole thing. Once I watch the whole thing, and if I'm wrong, I'll tell you. I'll make another video. But the notion, like I said, of the speck of dust is that we are a speck of dust. Like, our reality, they were talking about in the Bible, it was stating, I believe that it's on purpose. I think it was on purpose. I think it was on purpose because it can't make sense that you would tell a human that it's whatever. It doesn't make sense that all other religion have physics and quantum physics relayed in it, except the Europeans. It doesn't add up. So nuclear physics and quantum physics has to be somewhere in religion. Of course, if you're a demonologist or you're Luciferian, you might not have that issue. If you're a true believer, if you do actually communicate with gods and you're not just looking to satisfy your own personal needs, I do believe that the demons will share. I think that this epiphany that I just have did come from Lucifer. Obviously, I don't think it came from God. But, and I did ask him, and he said to do it, but fast. So, so, you know, it is what it is. So, and I also believe that once you actually cross over to the dark side, pause, pun intended. Why did I say pause? Pun intended. Sorry about that. Bad habit. Pun intended. When you cross over to the dark side, you will become more cosmically aware, like I said in my last video, which is probably the result of me thinking about what I'm thinking right now. So, I kind of called the information towards me anyway. So, because I just had this idea, it just came to me, you know, and it makes perfect fucking sense. Also, you know, and to me, it makes perfect sense. You know, to me, it makes perfect sense. But so the idea that you're dust and you shall return to dust is the idea that reality comes from within itself and goes forward and come back into itself, collapses into itself, right? Like the other guy said, right? Even though that's not necessarily what I mean, because I also believe that in some shape or form, there are parallel universes that collapses over on us. There are layers, right? And those layers are different dimensions of existence, but you're on Earth, like right now, as you are sitting in front of this, whatever you're watching me from, computer, cell phone, whatever, laptop, whatever, you're also in the presence of multiple realities without being aware of it. But those realities might be realities that are actually more intricate or important to this current reality, right? Faith, whatever, manifest destiny, whatever you want to call it, spiritual warfare, blah, 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 right? Because everything that happens needs to happen, and everything that happens was supposed to happen and happened the way that it was supposed to happen, like Morpheus says in the Matrix. But I also believe that there are other universes, other parallel universes that we have no idea of, and that are literal, that you could literally walk into it and there's another you, there's another, like, because parallel universes is different than multiple reality, right? A parallel universe is a universe that's parallel to your own, right? There could be multiple of that, right? But when you enter a parallel universe, you're going to meet yourself, right? Most likely, when we talk about parallel universes, you're going to meet yourself as you are right now, but there's going to be a slight difference, right? Multiple universes is the same, but there's a more grandiose and more extravagant, possibility that you could be dead. In that universe you're dead, and and you're like this great king that existed, and there's like a huge monument with your face on it. Is fucking ridiculous, right? But a parallel universe is a parallel universe is a universe that is similar to your own with slight differences. As of alternate reality is kind of the same, but there could be more grandiose effects. And I feel like when it comes to parallel universes are a result of multiple universes. I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like a parallel universe is the result of multiple universes, right? So now we're talking about that space between us, right? The space between like the other parallel universes that's closest to us. There might be gravity, attraction, and retraction between us that creates parallel universes between us two, that makes us look almost or near or whatever. It's kind of like a bridge or whatever, right? So, but I guess parallel universe is kind of the same as multiple universes. But to me, that's what it feels like. To me, it feels like a parallel universe is more like, okay, I'm alive here. There's a big chance that I'm alive, and blah, 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 and everybody else is alive. Everything is the same, but there's slight chances, like Mandela effect, right? So I call that multiple layers. I call those layers. I call the matter of parallel universes is a layer in itself of the reality of our current reality. Because the different layers, the layers that I speak of, there's different layers to humanity and different layers to the earth and life as we know it. And those layers are the constructive possibilities of things that might exist, like aliens, I don't know, solving world hunger, spirituality, magic, things like that, right? So you're dust and you shall return to dust. How can that be? What are you talking about, right? Let's be belligerent. Let's be offensive on purpose and ask, what do you mean? Let's be literal. How can a dust return to dust. Because I don't know anything. I'm a slave. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Like, I'm a slave, bro. Pause. But I'm a slave. I work in a field. The only thing I know is the sun and the moon and cows. I have no fucking clue what you're saying. Right? Like, somebody coming along. If you don't know shit, right? You can't read, you can't write. You build blocks for Egyptian pyramids. You don't know shit. You barely know how to talk. And then somebody comes along and tells you you're dust and you return to dust. I have no idea what you're saying. I literally do not know what you're saying. And how can you? So your immediate reaction would be to ask, what are you talking about? And it wouldn't be like, you're not being insulting or how do you say, insolent or condescending. You literally do not know what this person is saying. Like, it's beyond you. Like, right? Like a dust return to dust. What? Like, I don't even understand what you're saying. Right? Like, and I'm like, I can read, I can write. Went to school. I don't know what the fuck that means. And a lot of people don't know what that means, right? Today. And this was said 3,000 years ago. Like, it was fucking normal. Like, everybody understood no one understands that. But nobody asked either. So now we know what that means. You're dust and you'll return to dust. And it has to mean that. There's nothing else that it could mean. There's nothing else that it could mean. I don't believe that you're dust and you'll return to dust. You're not dust. You don't return. Like, you're not born out of dust. I mean, technically speaking, we are 99% stardust. But it's stardust. So even on that basis, if you're telling me I'm dust and I return to dust, but I know what kind of dust that I am, which is the thing that comprises the universe, because stardust actually built everything. Technically, stardust is like literally God. Technically speaking, stardust is technically God, bro. So, and if you tell me that, I'm like, well, shit, yeah, duh, so I'm not gonna understand what you're trying to tell me. And if the human way to perceive that notion would be a notion of some sort of, I am bigger than you, and you ain't shit. You're like you're an ant, and I will squish you with my foot. That's more what we believe that meant, right? But what if that's not what it meant? What if that meant something else? And I believe the notion of using the word dust is very specific and probably on purpose. It was like a clue or something, right? Like Assassin's Creed, Valhalla. Assassin's Creed Valhalla shit. So, and that's what the Bible is. It's a bunch of parables and a bunch of metaphors and a bunch of weird shit. A bunch of fucking black magic, satanic, demonic black magic, any fucking ways. Right? So, when he says you're dust and you shall return to dust, what does he mean? Because I'm not dust. Like, I'm flesh and bone, right? I mean, of course, if I've rot for a long fucking time, everything turns to dust. If you wait 10 fucking thousand years, so you ain't saying, even you're gonna turn to dust at some fucking point, so you're not telling me shit. So what are you trying to tell me? Are you trying to be intimidating, or are you trying to teach me something? Because I don't know. I'm not sure. You're not specific. You're not specifying. Right? There's no context. And not only that, but how can I return to dust? So what are you saying? So you're saying when we die, we go somewhere? Like, so what are you saying exactly? Like, what are you getting at? Right? Like, how what does that mean? You know, you're dust and you'll return to dust. Like, you know, like this doesn't make any sense. I'm obviously not dust. Do you mean that from your perspective, all you see is dust? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that when you go home, wherever your home is, that what you see in your home is dust? You ever you know, like, you know, I don't live in a house like that, you know, like white people shit. I'm gonna talk about some white people shit right now, bro. But I used to live in a house like that when I was a kid. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I used to live like, you know, when you got that house that's like perfectly aligned with the sun and shit. And you know, when it's very like there's a very nice temperature outside and it's sunny and shit, and you just sit there in silence or while you're watching TV. I don't know if that ever happened to you, but the gleam from the sun just enters the home, and you can see dust, little, you know, dust particles fly and shit in the air and shit, like, you know, it usually happens in very nice houses that are well built. Anyway, so that's a little bit of that's white people stuff. So but you sit there and while you're watching TV or some shit, like, I'm pretty sure it happened to a couple of you guys, you know. So you're sitting here and you're sitting there and the sun hits the inside of the home and you can see the dust particles that you do not necessarily see. It's not like your home is dirty, it's a shit like that. It's just there's dust particles, right? So, and you can only see those dust particles because of the way the sun is hitting the window and blah 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 blah, right? Which is weird because those are some of the nicest days usually. So, you know. Anyway, the days where you see dust is usually the nicest days. So anyways, um I don't think it's something to look into. I'm just, you know, fabulating. Um, so when you go home, is it like that? Is it like when you sit in your home? Is it like watching dust particle fly? And what are those dust particles? Are you saying that I'm one singular dust particle that inhabits your home, and you're always watching this very easy to spot dust particle? Or is there in the, because dust always, it's usually dust is a very large amount, right? You know, even if you take a pinch of dust, there's a lot of shit in dust. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of dirt, whatever it is the dust is made, or a lot of powder. There's a lot of powder even in one pinch, right? So what are we talking about? Are we talking about a pinch of dust? Are we talking about dust as just dust? Literal, like just dust, period? And if that's the case, how can one soul amount, like, how could you even be aware of my existence if not only am I one soul? Because actually, like, you could, let's say all the dust particles have different colors. At least they have different colors, so you'd be able to recognize a person's specific soul and then pinpoint them and then communicate with them and then, you know, come into their lives and start fucking shit up, throwing rocks. But then again, if it's just one dust particle and there's no dust around, that still kind of makes it hard to spot. I mean, you can get lucky if you're sitting in your house and you're like, hey, here's Bob, right? But I'm pretty sure there's some days you're going to be like looking for Bob all over the fucking house and you're not going to fucking find him because he's a speck of dust. Even if he's black. I mean, of course, it makes it easier to spot since he's black. But it's still a speck of dust, so you have to look for a long fucking time, right? Pardon my language. So what kind of dust are we speaking of? Can you specify the dust? But then again, but then here comes me. So this is where I step in. And I'm like, all the choices that these humans make multiple realities. Because if there's one reality where there's always a yes and no reality to all the choices that humans make. There's a reality where you're dead. There's a reality where you're not dead. There's a reality where you crash your car and you die. And there's a reality where you crash your car and you survive. And then both those realities branch out into other realities. And yes, that seems like a lot if you think about it that way. And it almost seems infinite. But at some point, those choices are going to stop. Because you're going to die one day. You know, like, so, and it's finite because we could like literally stop making babies, which is something that we're going to have to talk about sooner or later, and go full blown China, you know, because of spiritual issues. But I don't think it's going to happen today or anytime soon, unfortunately, but we're going to have to talk about that. But before we talk about that, we're going to have to understand why spirituality is so important. And we're going to have to understand the concept of gods and the self and spirituality and higher planes of existence. And we have to understand all that shit before we even start talking about making or not making any babies. Speaking of collapses, right? And it's much worse than that. It's much worse than that. Well, imagine, if you will, if we keep having babies, like let's say these babies become cosmically aware, because at the end of the day, like, because that's a totally different story. Like, so my thesis is like, this never ends. And if this never ends, if we keep creating babies and these babies can't die, and they start noticing that they can't die, and not only that they notice that they can't die, but they're like adopted children, orphans, neglected children that we didn't give a fuck about putting on this earth and didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We did it because a TV commercial told us to do it. Like, and one of these days, one of these generations starts to be cosmically aware, be spiritually and cosmically aware and shit. And they're going to be pissed and they're going to try to kill us. You know, and you know, that could happen. That's legit something that could happen. So, and it will happen if we keep listening to the Illuminati and doing stupid shit and acting like fucking monkeys and fucking retards. That's gonna happen. Not today, not tomorrow, and probably not the next generation or the generation after that. But it depends on if the spiritual world decides to become more powerful and more self-aware, which would result in all these angry little kids and angry spirit that inhabits the earth to not only be angry, because right now the earth doesn't know why it's angry. It's unaware. It doesn't know anything. It's a baby. But when the baby grows up, sometimes you want to get out the fucking way. You know, like Sometimes we want to get out the fucking way because he's been doing push-ups, and this motherfucker's been eating, not drinking, but eating steroids. So like you might just be like, you know what? I'm just cut over here. You know what I mean? So, and that could have happened. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. And now we'll have to fight. We'll literally have to fight titans because angry, pissed off, very cruel and sadistic titans, because we didn't give a shit about, we didn't care about anything but our little nose, but what was in front of our nose. And if these people wake up with all that knowledge, they're going to be extremely pissed, because I don't think all of their suffering, I don't think the excuse that you're willing to give them for the vast amount of suffering that you put them through is going to be enough. These sadistic, angry titans will rip our heads off and shit down our necks. But like I said, that's a different story for another day. Back to what we were saying. Anyway, and technically that's kind of what's going on right now. So anyway, but it's not even close. That's still feasible. Whatever's going on right now, as bad as it is, it's still feasible. It's not as bad as a bunch of super powered, pissed off teenagers. It's really not that bad. Like if no, it's not. It's not, because it's bad and it's cruel and sadistic what's going on today, and it's disgusting. But it can still be solved if people just stop being dumb. It's not like irreparable. It's not like it's gone past the point of no return and shit like that, right? Like, of course, to us, that's how it feels. But in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that big of a fucking deal. It's just people being stupid. You know what I mean? So, that's very different. People being just retarded is very different than fighting fucking Viltrumites. like in fucking that Invincible, the Invincible cartoon show, right? Fucking fighting Kryptonians, pissed off, angry, very bloodthirsty Kryptonians. That's very fucking different. That is fucking terrifying, actually. So speck of dust. Anyway, I think you get it. I don't think I need to explain more. Maybe I do, but I'm gonna stop right now because the video is like 51 minutes. If you want to ask something, ask me in the comment section. You can email me. I did change my number. So I did change my number. I lost my old phone number, so I'm gonna have to. I don't know how. It just happened. So now I have a new number. So anyway. Do as thou wilt. No pun intended. You guys have a good day. Peace out and have a good one.